Hey guys, it's Red Shadow here, and I'm doing this video today about a couple of hot topics in the gaming world that I've been thinking about, but wasn't planning on doing a video like ever, because they aren't necessarily important topics to me. But now that I've had enough time to kind of see a lot of other people give their thoughts on it, and reading a lot of articles about both of these things, I decided, why not? It'll give me something to talk about, an excuse to do a video. Anyway, these two topics, as seen in the topic title down below, are Amiibos and game pre-ordering. I'm going to start with the more popular topic of the moment right now, which is those pesky Nintendo Amiibos. And what an interesting little creation they have turned out to be. Now, they came out sometime late last year, I think, of course in time for the Christmas rush. And essentially what they are, if you don't know what a Nintendo Amiibo is they are little toy statues. Hang on just a second here. This is not a Nintendo Amiibo. I don't own any currently, but this is a Disney Infinity Iron Man character here. This is for my daughter's Disney Infinity game that I bought for her this past Christmas. The Nintendo Amiibos, in my opinion, are an attempt by Nintendo to capture the buzz that the Disney Infinity and Skylander toy or video game / toys have created over the last few years. So, they are pretty nicely detailed little plastic toy statues of Nintendo characters. Every Nintendo character you could pretty much imagine in the 4 or 5 waves that have been released since late last year. Of course, your Marios and Luigis and Bowsers and Princess Peach and Link and Zelda. You've got Samus from Super Metroid, or the Metroid games in general. You've got Pokemon characters that have been released, like Pikachu and Charizard. You've got Kirby. You've got characters that aren't even necessarily originally Nintendo characters. Most recently, like you had Pac-Man came out. You've also had Mega Man and Sonic as released in the Amiibo characters. Ness from Earthbound. You've had characters from the newer games like Xenoblade Chronicles have been put out. And just so many more. There's a ton of them at this point that have been released in, I think, 5 different waves. I think that's where we are right now, 4 or 5. And they have just sold like hotcakes. These things have been incredibly popular. Now, they're unlike the Disney Infinity characters and the Skylanders characters. Amiibos are not inherently exclusive to a certain game. They are able to enhance certain games like Mario Kart and Super Smash Bros. I'm sure there's others, and there will be other games where you can take your little Amiibo character and tap it on the Wii U gamepad, or for the new 3DS has the built-in Amiibo compatibility, and they can do certain things in games. Now, I'm not even 100% sure at this point what all they accomplish in these other games. It's not like in Mario Kart or Super Smash Bros. It's the only way to unlock those characters to play in those games. They're already unlocked, but you can customize things and you can save information on them. These characters save their information to the chip or whatever that's inside of them. The Amiibos can save certain kinds of characteristics for those games you use them with, but they are not required for a specific game to operate, meaning that a lot of people that are buying Amiibos now are buying them for collecting purposes, not to play a game with, but to actually display on a shelf, put up on a wall or something. And unfortunately, they've also been bought by a lot of resellers to sell back. And that brings us to the point, the controversy or the buzz about these right now is their limited availability, despite the fact that they are selling like crazy. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on with Nintendo that they've allowed these things to become so rare, and therefore people are buying them up and then immediately putting them on eBay and trying to sell them. Or not trying to sell them, they're selling them for, these are characters that are like $13 at Walmart. They're selling for $20 or $40 or $60 or sometimes even like $100 or sometimes even more. And it just seems counterproductive on Nintendo's part not to make sure that the supply is meeting the demand, because if they were doing so, they're already making a lot of money off of these because they're selling out wherever they're at, specific characters at least. They're making all kinds of money on these, but they're also allowing typical average people who put them up on eBay to resell these and make all kinds of extra money off of them because of their scarcity. If they were making sure that there were enough of these everywhere, all that kind of stuff would come down. Collectors, gamers, whatever, all of those people would get the characters that they wanted, and they wouldn't have to be spending all this extra money for them. Honestly, I refuse to believe that Nintendo is incapable of meeting this demand. For some reason or another, they're just not producing enough of them. And maybe they were worried that these things wouldn't sell well in the beginning, but now they've been out for so long, it's obvious that they are selling greatly. So I think that Nintendo needs to get on the ball with this. Like I said, I don't know details about it. I just find it hard to imagine that they couldn't be supplying retailers with enough of these to satisfy the demand that's in place for them right now, and make that money, which is something that Nintendo needs. Their consoles are not selling as well as they should. Their games probably do all right, but Nintendo has changed so much over the last 2 generations. They need anything that they can to create revenue. I mean, it's been said quite a bit that they're not a company that's in any kind of fear of going under. They have a lot of money, but they're also a company, and sales is a part of the equation. This is something they could really be making a lot of money on, and they're just kind of taking a back seat on it. Now, as I was coming home and I was thinking about doing this video, I thought of something that would be an idea for them anyway. They could release these Amiibos in versions that don't have the game connectability built into them. Why not just plain little Nintendo character statues that don't need to be tapped on a gamepad to do something, and they could charge a little bit less. I just imagine, once again, trying to envision this as a Nintendo Amiibo, I try to imagine that the bulk of the price of these, the cost of them, is that chip down in there that saves that data and has its game connectivity built into it. If that was gone and it was just a little plastic character, I bet you they would still sell like crazy, and they could charge even less for them and probably make more money. But I don't know. I'm not Mr. Smart Guy when it comes to economics and whatnot. But I just think that they should do something. There are a bunch of people out there that are making a shit ton of money off of these by selling them on eBay and screwing the people who actually want to own them. People who want to play with them, or they want to display them and they want to collect them. They want to introduce their children to them by, hey, here's something that looks like a little toy. Whatever the case may be, the Amiibos are super popular right now, and I think Nintendo's kind of screwing the pooch, and they should sort it out somehow or another. Alright, well, that's my thoughts on Amiibos. Me personally, I do want to own a handful of them. As I said, I don't have any right now. I've kind of let a few of the first wave ones that I wanted to own get by me. But eventually, someday, I'd like to have Link and Zelda. I'd like to have Samus. I'd like to have Donkey Kong. And maybe a couple of others that have come out since then. Notice I have no interest in Mario or Luigi, because I'm not a big Mario fan in general. But there are some that I would really love to have, and those are the few so far that come to mind. Alright, so the next topic is a little bit more close to my heart, although I don't do it anymore, but I don't do it for the reasons that a lot of people are calling for, sort of a ban on this idea, but that's game pre-ordering. Now, say 10 years ago, 10 to 15 years ago, well, even going back to my PlayStation days in the late 90s, I used to love to pre-order games. I would read in a magazine, old-fashioned magazine, sit it in front of you and open it up and read the articles and look at the pictures of the video games that were coming out. And I used to say, that one looks really awesome. I want to take a chance on that. Or I'd be like, hey, there's a new Twisted Metal coming out. I want that. A new Mortal Kombat, a new Metal Gear Solid. Or when something like Shadow of the Colossus was first coming out. The first thing I wanted to do was go to my local game store and say, I want to pre-order that game. That way I knew on day one I was getting it, and I would pay for it when I had the money. You know what? Sometimes people don't have the money on the day that those games come out. Hell, my payday is on Thursdays. Games come out on Tuesdays. You know how hard that is? I know. First world problems and everything. Just have some patience and whatnot. But it's really difficult for me to go to work and see a game on the shelf on Tuesday knowing I have to wait 2 days or 9 days until the next payday before I can have it. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have savings. I don't have stuff like that I can just be like, oh, well, I'll just pull some money out for that because that's a game release that I want. When I would have the money, especially in the days when I would trade old games away for credit or cash, I would turn around and then say, now this is a game that I do want. I'm going to pre-order it now. I think the longest I had a pre-order out on a game was probably more than a year. And when that game came out, boom, there it was, and it was mine. And I just went down and picked it up. That was a great thing back in the 90s and into the 2000s. But something about that has changed in the last 4 or 5 years, I would say. Pre-ordering has now turned around, and it's become one of those, well, we're going to put our foot into the waters and see how it feels. And if it feels good, then hey, we'll do this thing. We'll make sure that this game is ready. Long gone now are the days of a game not being released until it was really finished. And if you're pre-ordering games, new Call of Duty or new Battlefields or whatever the case may be, I think this seems to be the controversy surrounding this now. A lot of people are saying, don't pre-order anymore because what you're doing is you're already giving that company the money. They already have your money. It doesn't matter now to them if they've really finished the game, if the game is shit when it comes out, if it's glitchy and buggy and needs updates on day one. They already got your money. Well, I can understand where people are upset about that, but when I do pre-order stuff nowadays, I do it on Amazon. To me, Amazon is the pre-order king. They do give sometimes benefits or perks to pre-ordering it, but what they don't do is they don't take your money today if you pre-order this game that comes out in November. They take your money on the day that the game comes out, or at least when they ship it a couple days beforehand. It gives you a lot of time to think about whether or not you want to sustain that pre-order. Maybe you see some new information about it and you don't like it. Maybe you've seen new screenshots and it doesn't look as good as it looked like in the beginning. It happens sometimes. You can cancel your pre-order and you don't have to worry about them refunding you. You never spent any money on it. I would never do a pre-order at GameStop unless it was a GameStop exclusive and it was something that I just absolutely had to have. The last time that happened for me was when the 3 Nintendo Wii Operation Rainfall games came out. Xenoblade Chronicles, The Last Story, and Pandora's Tower. I pre-ordered those from GameStop and gave them my money early because that was what was necessary to make sure that those games were going to get released over here. And I was ready to do it because I wanted those games. And I'm glad that I did because, especially Xenoblade Chronicles, it became a hard-to-get game after it was released that way without breaking the bank, without paying like twice as much, if not more, than its original retail price. But no, I'm not going to pre-order something like Batman Arkham Knight. Now, I don't have those consoles it's being released for anyway, but I wouldn't pre-order that. I wouldn't pre-order... well, like The Witcher 3 is already out, but I wouldn't have pre-ordered it even though it looks like an awesome game. I just don't pre-order stuff anymore. But back in the day, pre-ordering was perfectly fine. You weren't telling some company, here's my money, shovel shit down on my throat. But unfortunately, it seems like that's the way it is now. Pre-ordering used to be an awesome thing for a guy like me. I just read so many comments on YouTube videos and comments on articles on Kotaku and GameSpot and Yahoo, all these different things where they were all like, I never pre-ordered games. Pre-ordering is stupid. I would never do that. There was a time, guys, when pre-ordering was perfectly fine. It made people like me feel really, really good to know that my game that I wanted really, really badly was already paid for, and it would be taken care of by the time it came along. And I don't have a regret in the books at all for any of the games that I pre-ordered, and I don't feel like I've contributed to the pre-order mentality of the game companies nowadays. And I just think that maybe people should think about that now. Just all you have to do is be educated, read up on things, look into things, and just be aware that nowadays a lot of games come out and are not really finished, but that really doesn't have anything to do with pre-ordering. Even if a game never had a pre-order for it. In this day and age, games are going to get released like that because companies have to meet deadlines, and they're all worried about making that money, and they want that money first and foremost. So that's just one of those things. If people know that now, yeah, sure, probably don't pre-order anything at all. But just, I guess, don't hammer those of us who did it 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. Well, anyway, that's my thoughts on that. I just thought I'd sit down and do this video, and I'll see you guys next time.